Hey guys, this is SpockJoe, and I'm playing Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. I'm going to be talking about 3 dominant playstyles in Call of Duty games. If you want to see more videos like this, please hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. And with no further ado, let's get started. Now, you're probably asking yourself, why am I talking about playstyles? Now, here's the thing when it comes to playstyles. Playstyles and gun choice kind of go hand in hand. If you don't know what kind of playstyle that you have, then you may be using the wrong weapon that's going to complement your playstyle. And so in future videos, I want to go through and I want to talk about some of the guns and how those guns shine better with different playstyles than others. And so that's kind of where I'm going with this on talking about playstyles. And now I'm going to talk about 3 dominant playstyles, and they are the run and gunner, the push and pull player, and the support player. Now, just straight away, I'm going to say that there is no blanket statement saying that there's only these 3 different types of playstyles. There is no black and white when it comes to this, but I would say majority of the players out there fit into one of these categories or into multiple categories, because a lot of times some people could be a run and gunner and a push-pull player, or a push-pull player and a support player. It kind of goes hand in hand, and I would say that it's not a blanket statement. But as I'm talking about these things, I want you guys to think about what kind of player or what kind of play style you have. Because in the end, if you know what kind of play style you have, that's going to help you be a better player, especially in a game like Infinite Warfare, where the kills are very, very quick and the gameplay is very, very fast. And, you know, sometimes that can be frustrating when you're losing gunfights. And it might be simply because you are a different type of player than someone else, and you're using a gun that's not really helping you shine. So, with that said, talking about the run and gunner. The run and gunner is probably the most confident and crazy player in the game. They're jumping off of walls, they're getting those mad kills, and you see them all over the place. These guys that are just running into rooms. But the thing that I would say about these run and gunners, they are definitely the most aggressive players, and they are very offensive. They're always pushing the boundaries. I would say that they love to rush into the action. They like being in your face, and they're always going for those high kills, those quick kills, that just high action, high velocity. But the problem is this type of player tends to have a lot of deaths as well. So with that said, talking about the weapons that best complement, I think, for a run and gunner are simply SMGs and shotguns. They're weapons that shine up close. Now, granted, they're not very good at range, but that's not the point of a run and gunner. A run and gunner is one of those guys that runs into a room and is able to turn on people very, very quickly, take those shots, and it's very, very accurate. I would say that SMGs, because they are really, really fast and fairly accurate at hip fire, these types of weapons, and even shotguns are able to one burst people at close range. And I would say that these types of weapons are really good for those run and gunners who are just really aggressive players when they run into a room and they're able to snap onto their targets and take them out quickly, versus them using maybe something that's a little more longer range, like assault rifles or LMGs or even sniper rifles. Moving on, we're going to talk about the push-pull player. And you guys might think, what is a push-pull player? A push-pull player is someone that is kind of in the middle of a run and gunner and a support player. A push-pull player basically is able to rush in and kind of run and gun a little bit, but tends to think a lot more strategic about how to win gunfights. And it's all in the way that the mind works. Now, guys, I'm not saying that one person or one playstyle is better than another, but I will say this. Every single one of us has a different way that our brain works, and we tend to gravitate towards the different types of play styles. And so for a push-pull player, they're going to be thinking more tactically. They're going to be trying to have more of a mid-range to longer-range engagements. They, because that's kind of where their play style shines versus, just running into a room and pulling the trigger, shooting his gun in a blaze of glory and dying over and over and over. Now, I would say a push-pull player, one of their greatest strengths is simply their tactical ability. They're thinking about how to win that next gunfight, how to position themselves to win that next gunfight. They tend to close off lanes. They, for those people that are running gunners and always trying to get through those long sight lines, a push-pull player probably will lock that area down or be kind of looking down those lanes. Now, I would recommend for a push-pull player SMG class assault rifles and LMGs. Those I think are very doable when it comes to a push and pull player. I would say assault rifles really, really shine with this type of play style. LMGs can shine. The one thing about LMGs is they tend to be a little clunky. They're a little bit slower. So a push-pull player, sometimes they need to be a little bit quicker. And so LMGs kind of don't work as quickly. But I would say that in this game, in Infinite Warfare, there is a fix, and it's called the Merc Combat Rig. If you guys want to know more about the Merc Combat Rig and how that helps out the LMGs, you can go check out one of the videos I have on the Combat Rigs review, and I basically talk about the Merc Combat Rig. All right, moving on, we're going to talk about the support player. And the support player simply, I would say that they are a defensive player. They're thinking about how to lock down areas, how to make it to where people aren't going down certain lanes, and they're just really thinking about lockdown. I would say that a support player tends to be more on the slower pace. They don't tend to run and gun or push-pull as much. They tend to be that guy that basically sets up to get those kills. They'll be aiming their weapon at a doorway, or they'll be aiming down a long sight line, or different things like that. I mean, you see it all the time, especially with snipers and people that are running with like LMGs. You've seen it in Black Ops 3. You've seen it in other Call of Duties. These guys are basically support players, and these guys definitely have a very good function within the gameplay, because these guys, if they do lock down a long line of sight, they're able to allow those run and gunners or the push-pull players to actually have access and get down those lanes, and it kind of works. And it's funny because a lot of people, whenever they're thinking about their play styles and stuff like that, they don't realize it, but a lot of times they kind of gravitate towards these different play styles just because of the way that their minds work. Now, like I said, I'm not going to be talking about the psychology of it or anything like that, but it's really kind of interesting to think about, because people that tend to be support players tend to like sniper rifles. They tend to like LMGs. I would say that LMGs, sniper rifles, and even ARs tend to shine with this playstyle, but their whole idea of what a support player isn't so much about getting all those kills and crazy. They're more allowing the opponents to come to them, kind of like a fly going into a spider web. Now, the last thing I really want to talk about, and this is, we're coming up on Christmas, and we're going to have a lot of Christmas noobs and different things like that, especially in Infinite Warfare. And I would say this, out of playstyles, the most hated playstyle, and people will say this is not a playstyle, and it's very controversial, and within the Call of Duty community, everybody seems to hate campers. But I want you guys to understand, campers are a legitimate playstyle. And I would even argue that camping is a natural evolution of how players start out in the game and progress as they get better at the game going through. Now, campers, the biggest thing about a camper is they lack confidence. They tend to not be as confident in their gunplay as, someone who would be a push-pull player or a run-and gunner. They don't have that muscle memory, or their brain doesn't work quick enough to snap onto targets as quickly. And so I would say that a camper, someone who is just new to the franchise or maybe new to the game, tend to gravitate towards camping because they don't know about those unknowns. And so for them, it's easy to, shack up in a corner with a shotgun or, claymores and all the bombs sitting around them as, people come in, and they're trying to do the best they can based on, them being not very confident when it comes to the gameplay. Now, here's the thing. I don't recommend people become campers. I would say that, there's times where I'm playing Call of Duty with my wife, and she is a camper. But it's because she doesn't play the game very much. She doesn't spend endless hours on the game like I do. And so her confidence level, especially when it comes to gunfight engagements, it's going to be a little bit different. And there's going to be a lot of people that are coming into this game new, fresh. Maybe this is the first Call of Duty they've ever played in their life. And they're going to probably gravitate towards camping. So for you guys that are the seasoned warriors of Call of Duty, please, be a little considerate towards the campers. But campers, I want to encourage you on this. Learn what you can, go into combat training, do whatever you can to get more comfortable with your gunplay so that you can improve and start to move, okay? And with that said, guys, if you like this video, please share, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.